In 2019, I brought a group of 3 inexperienced first semester computer science students to the UN's Hack for Education at the International Telecommunication Union in Geneva. Now, my team had won, different set of students had won the hackathon back in 2017, the Hack for Health. So kind of took the same process. I asked my supervisor for some funding. I put together this team and we all went to Geneva together. Now, the process looked more or less like it did in 2017. And we listened to a few presentations and then we got to work and we brainstormed a lot of ideas around how we can improve education. And I don't know, I think we had 30 different ideas. We threw out the majority of them right off the bat because they were just not quite interesting or engaging or provocative or impactful enough. And then we settled on a smaller group of ideas and we kind of culled through them and we looked through, kind of evaluated them, tried to judge some criteria that we thought might be worthwhile or relevant. We ended up with the idea that we were going to pursue. A lot of the other groups kind of tackled this problem in a very different way than we did. They were really looking at education on a systems level, kind of looking at a very high level thinking about the issue of education. And so a lot of their solutions, a lot of their innovations were very high level. Some of them were abstract. Others were concrete in the sense that they were trying to tackle a complex issue with a very complicated solution. But my group took a very different approach. We really focused in on the grassroots. And every time we thought we were as narrow as possible, we thought, again, how could we narrow it even further? What is the group within the group that we really want to focus on, that we really want to tackle? So we landed on a solution that we thought was going to provide the most value for the people that we were focused on. And we started to imagine, we started thinking about what the ways in which that might improve their lives, or the ways in which they might value what we've created, value our idea. And so before we moved further, because we knew that the group that we were the team that we were made up of, didn't really reflect the backgrounds of the people that we wanted to target. So we started reaching out and we just contacted any friend, family member, colleague that we could possibly imagine that might know something about this group or who might have a relationship with people from this group. And we had 24 hours, so there was really limited options, but we did our best and we managed to make contact with a couple of people. We got their insights and we got their feedback on what sort of assumptions that we weren't even aware of that we were building into our prototype, we were building into our idea. So that gave us the sort of fuel to completely go back to the drawing board. Now, we didn't scrap everything, but what we did is we kept that original idea and we scrapped a lot. We dropped like half of the different features and functionalities and things we thought we might do with that solution. It helped us focus in on the very small selected group of features and functions that we thought would create the most value for those groups. And it also helped inspire us to think differently about our solution. So we were connecting the dots between what we had already created and things that we didn't consider before. So we found new kind of value propositions. We found new ways that our solution could create value for that narrow target group of people. Now, we didn't do everything that our colleagues and friends and family members told us to do. We took everything with a grain of salt, and most of them, to be honest, didn't really give us direct feedback. They were just kind of reflecting on some of the ideas that we were talking about. So we didn't take everything into account that they said, but we took a lot of it into account, and it helped us find, I hate the phrase kill your darlings, but this is the kind of idea that I'm trying to get across here. Help us find the things about our solution that were least relevant, that we could most easily drop off, and we'd still maintain an even greater focus. So, since we knew we were going to pitch the solution in day 2 or at the end of the hackathon, we started, even before the prototype was finished, developing our pitch. And I think this is a really important juncture because as we were creating the prototype, again, our thinking about what we were doing was evolving. And we were about 80% there. And we said, we're going to put a pause or maybe slow down on the prototyping and move over into conceptualizing our pitch, really trying to find ways that we could pitch this solution effectively. And in doing that, it helped us think even more critically about our solution, because when we went from what it is to start pitching our solution about why it's important and how it's creating value, it helped us narrow in on even a smaller and more select group of functions and features. Because when you pitch a solution in 5 minutes or a minute or even 30 seconds, you can't tell somebody every possible thing that's gone into it. You have to get the most critical and most important aspects of your solution. You have to bring them forward. So again, pitching that solution, thinking about how we would pitch it, created a new opportunity for us to even think more critically about that piece of work. Now, the day of the pitch, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. So the 3 students that I had brought with me had to pitch on their own. I had to attend a panel presentation. But afterwards, I saw my team and they were overjoyed because they had won Best Pitch, which is a fantastic prize. It's really awesome recognition that they got for their work. Now, the jury had not yet decided on the grand prize yet. So we were still kind of wondering, maybe we were going to win that grand prize as well. Fast forward a couple of weeks, my team gets an email from the organizers of the hackathon announcing that they've been selected as the winner. And of course, I was really, really proud of my students. I mean, I was a member of the team, but at the same time, I was still their teacher and their mentor and their guide. And so feeling that sense of like overwhelming joy to share that with them was a great and profound feeling. But one of the main lessons that I drew personally from this experience is that you do not need to be an expert to be innovative. And in fact, there's kind of a really good argument for not being an expert, because you're approaching an idea with kind of a clean slate, with a new perspective. And so I think there's so much value in bringing someone into a new space and inviting them to come up with a solution to a really difficult challenge. The other critical element here was that the team that I had put together was incredibly diverse. So we brought perspectives from every corner of the world and from very, very different life histories and backgrounds. But it wasn't just about that level of diversity. It was also about the trust that we had. So these 3 students had already created a kind of a group, and they had already worked with one another. They already knew one another. And of course, I, as their teacher, already knew of them, and I had already kind of been working with them in the context of the classroom. So I guess that's the other takeaway, is find a group that you can trust that brings a diverse set of experiences, or find a group that brings diverse sets of experiences and build trust, build those relationships, and then create solutions that are really focused and targeting the smallest possible population. And I think I've talked about this before in the podcast, but I'll say it again. I'm not talking about like country level populations. I'm not talking about city level populations. And sometimes I'm not even talking about block level, like neighborhood block level. I am talking about like individual people, individual families. How can your solution impact them? Once you're thinking on that level, it'll help narrow the scope of your solution to the point where you're able to pinpoint this thing is what's creating value for this person. And then lastly, make sure that you're working with people who have that experience, so that you're not creating your solution or your innovation in isolation. Always make sure that you're reaching out to those communities that you hope will benefit from your solution. So not only can you validate it, but you can co-design it, co-create it in a way that ensures the viability of that solution.